All three Back to the Future movies are a production designer's dream. Now, in the first film, the production designer was Larry Paul, and we had decided to shoot the movie on the back lot at Universal because it simply was far more practical than going to an actual real town. We considered for a while shooting the picture up in Petaluma, California, but when we got to the reality check and realized that we would have to change out all the street lights, all the curbs would have to be modified. There were so many details that would have to be changed to go from the 80s to the 50s. It was just way too expensive and impractical to go to a distant location and do that. So we went to the back lot at Universal, and of course, a production designer gets to do a whole lot more when he has an empty shell. And Larry Paul just went crazy and really recreated 50s street that made everybody on the crew say, you know, this reminds me of where I grew up. It didn't matter where they grew up. Everybody said the same thing. It reminds me of where I grew up. In Back to the Future Part 2, Rick Carter, our production designer, of course, had to recreate all the things that Larry Paul had already done in the first movie. We were able to actually do some scenes on that street with some more detail in some of the storefronts that were never very clearly seen in the first movie. So that was fun, being able to see the travel agency that has the 10 days from Cuba and the fallout shelter advertisement in the realty office were things that were on the street in the first movie and we never really got to see them clearly. And in Part 2, you do get to see them in the 50s. Now, in the future stuff, that's where Rick Carter had a blast. We tried to imagine what things might be like in the future to try to make it into a user-friendly future as opposed to an oppressive future. We wouldn't want to say that that's where we're going. We wanted to say it's going to be better. At the time that we made the movies, Japan was an economic powerhouse. Back then we thought, boy, if the Japanese culture continues the way it is, there'll be a much heavier Japanese influence on American culture in the year 2015. So when you look at the movie, you see a lot of things that were inspired by Japanese design, and that was a conscious decision.